Good afternoon. I am Patricia Renard Hightower, Omicron Lambda Omega chapter member and team member for Target 4, the arts career focus, up close and personal. The arts. Yes, it does make life eminently worth living. The arts in all its varied forms improves the quality of life and living for all in excellence. Omicron Lambda Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is implementing international program Target 4, the arts with enthusiasm while exemplifying excellence through sustainable service. The artsy girls of Omicron Lambda Omega have accepted our charge to showcase talent in the visual and performing arts, celebrate the contributions of African American artists, and highlight the artists and artworks of the Harlem Renaissance and Black arts movement. Welcome to the Arts on a Sunday afternoon, as we focus on successful individuals who have chosen careers in the arts field. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our career focus, Up Close and Personal, featuring Ms. Leigh K. Lindsay. She is the Costume Supervisor for BET's Sacrifice, starring Paula Patton. It is my pleasure to introduce our special guest for this afternoon. Leigh K. Lindsay attended Hampton University in Virginia, where she earned a bachelor's degree in English arts. She has worked in the film industry for 21 years in various roles, including creative advertising, marketing and publicity, and as a producer and director's assistant, travel coordinator, and for the last 6 years as a costume supervisor. She has worked on several films and many television series. Her work includes NCIS New Orleans, Roots, Cloak and Dagger, Girls Trip, and many more. She is currently the costume supervisor for BET's Sacrifice, starring Paula Patton. Welcome, Leigh, and thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. Hi, Leigh. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really, really appreciate it. So we're just trying to get up close and personal to find out some information about your career. First of all, what is a costume supervisor?
Well, a costume supervisor is someone who oversees the entire costume department, the employees, or we call it crew on set, the entire crew, and basically the rundown of all of the changes that the background and principal characters and guest stars have within a feature film or television show. So it's very important we read the script and we break it down by days. So obviously, in order for the audience to know that it's a different day, one of the major things that they need to be able to see is a change in the day. How do you know to change in the day if they're going from one day to the next? Clothes.
Gotcha. So does the costume supervisor have input with the costume designers?
Yes, it actually depends on who the designer is. So if it's most designers that I have worked with, I should say all of the designers that I have worked with are fairly interested in my input. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? When I break down a script, it's my job also to note the descriptions of the character. So if they say it's a hipster, or if it's an older, male in a nursing home, or if it's a ER physician, or if it's a sheriff, one of the things they'll write, it's a sheriff. Well, a sheriff has obviously a different uniform than a police officer. So we note those changes too, very detailed, specific changes. If the person wears sunglasses in the script, it's my job to note that sunglasses are worn. and note that in the changes and make the designer aware of all the specific details. Okay, this person has, they say he has a Cuban link bracelet blinged out. Okay, I have to make sure we get that. Where can we find that? And do it in a matter of time. You know, sometimes we get people cast at the last minute. I have to get their sizes. I have to find time to fit them. You know, and so basically it is a major entity within the costume department as far as having your hands in every dynamic of it. I work with the ADs to get scheduling, to get time for those fittings, to get time on set. Sometimes we need time and they're working that day. So it's very, you know, communication. Like we get a daily call, it's called a call sheet. And on that call sheet, it tells us everything we're shooting that day. And depending on what show you're on, if there are a lot of day changes, they will note changeover. So you know that that time frame is being taken out for that actor to change their clothes. Well, just yesterday, we get a preliminary one for everybody to look at and check. Just yesterday, I looked and I was like, oh, they don't have a time change noted. So then I had to work with the ADs to reorganize the schedule, the shooting schedule a little bit to accommodate for that time change. And so it could flow smoothly for everybody. So the actor wasn't changing twice. They were only going to have to change once, and then they could be in that same wardrobe for the rest of the day. So it's very detail oriented. I have to pay attention to every little thing and make sure that it's communicated throughout the shoppers, you know.
So just for clarification, I would assume AD is assistant director.
AD is an assistant director.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So what educational preparation is required to be a costume supervisor?
So, you know, that's the funny thing. Within film as a whole, I have come across people who have GEDs, who have just a high school degree, a diploma, who have master's degrees, who have master's degrees in theater, who have bachelor degrees. I have a bachelor's of arts, English arts degree from Hampton University. I originally thought that I was going to be an entertainment lawyer. So I was an English major, English arts, and I was going to graduate Hampton and go to law school. I graduated Hampton and went to LA and got a job and did not want to go back to school. So for me, working in entertainment, I found that, you know, I started off in the studio side, designing DVD packaging, VHS when I started. Then we launched the DVD. I was part of the launch of the DVD. I don't want to age myself, but I was. And so I was so caught up, and I was working and studying for the LSAT and all that. And I got so caught up in just working that I was like, gosh, you know, I was working with a DVD, the head guy who was launching the DVDs at the time. And he had come straight from high school. And he was so much more advanced than me on a career level. And they didn't even care in the entertainment industry that he didn't have a college degree. So it was one of those things where, you know, it just depends on what your passion is and what your line is. Obviously, if you want to be a doctor, you need to go to school. If you want to be a lawyer, you need to go to school. However, in the film industry, most people, I'd say 50%, come straight out of high school and work. And that's their education. If they want to be a grip, they learn how to grip from watching. They want to be a rigging electric, they learn how to do that from hands-on, and it's specific to their trade.
Got it.
The downfall of that is that you're there, and at that point you don't have the credentials to kind of go outside of that. But if that's solely what you want to do, you can either, go to college, and there's plenty of college opportunities for film. There's wonderful film schools, and it's always a benefit. It's kind of like, which way do you want to go? For me, I would not trade having gone to college for just the experience, the exposure, the networking, the good times, just the whole environment of being away and at school, and and the connections that I made. So for me, it was more beneficial. However, it solely depends, I guess, on that individual.
And I have to give a plug for the HBCU experience because you are a graduate of Hampton University in Virginia.
Yeah. Yes,
so
I am.
Go HBCUs.
Yes.
So going on with the next question I have, why did you select this career choice?
So, okay. So my mom's college best friends, one of them, my mom is their daughter's godchild. One of them is an actor. And when I was little, my mom used to go to LA. And I remember he was on this show, Welcome Back, Carter. And he's been on several shows, but that was like the first one that I can remember. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. That's great. My mom's friend, blah, blah, blah. And so and my dad's a lawyer. So I always kind of was drawn to both careers. And so I never wanted to be in front of the camera, but I always wanted to be behind it. So I thought, well, maybe I'll be in, because I could, I kind of wanted to do both entertainment. So I was thinking I was going to be an entertainment lawyer. But then, like I said, I got to LA and it changed. And originally I started out in marketing. I started out on the studio side, which is after the film is made, then you market it, you advertise it, and you distribute it internationally, nationally. However, when we were doing it, it was VHS, DVD. Now it's digital. So I did that for 11 years. And then I was in LA and I was like, oh, I don't want to live here anymore. I was getting older. I don't really know what it was. I just was like, I don't want to live here anymore. So I decided I wanted to come back home to New Orleans. I came and I pursued the marketing advertising. However, they didn't have film. And so every agency I went to, we don't have film. And I'm like, it transcends to whatever, Zatarain's, Popeyes, whatever. And so I guess it was just difficult. And I ran into an AD friend of mine, James Rock, who was working on a film. And he was like, hey, you want to work on this film? You want to, come? And I said, okay. And I had to start all over. They didn't care that I was a marketing director. They didn't care that I'd come from Hollywood with an office. They did not care. They were like, you're going to learn. This is what we do in production. So I had to start all over. I was a production assistant. And then obviously, I had worked. So I caught on quickly. And so I progressed fast. And I was working on NCIS in publicity. And it was just long hours. Film has very, very long hours. You never know when you're going to end. What's one thing that people in the industry are always crazy with, because your friends say, well, what time do you get off work? And you're like, when the actors say their lines correctly and the director feels like they got all the shots. Well, what is that? I don't know, 12 hours, 14 hours. So I did that. And I had an opportunity to I'd worked with Spike Lee on a show called Old Boy. And I met Ruth Carter. She was the designer and she always works with Spike. She's been working with Spike with years. And Spike knew that I had gone to Hampton. So of course, HBCU.
HBCU,
there's your connects, always your connects. And so he was like, do you know Ruth? And I said, well, I don't know her, but I know of her. And he's like, she went to Hampton. Come on. So he introduced us, and HBCU, Hampton University, immediately we bonded, and she was wonderful. And I worked for Spike at the time. I didn't even work for her, but she came back to New Orleans later. And I was pregnant and I did not want to work long hours and I did not want to work on set. And she was like, hey, I got this movie. You want to help me out? You want to assist me? You won't have to work long hours. I just need you to do these things. And that was my first costume official gig. When you're in the AD department and you're a PA for the assistant directors, you do everything. So I know I help every department, but this was my first time working in costumes, and she sold me on it and I loved it. And, you know, I've always been a very good shopper. I've always enjoyed clothes and watched movies and films and television series like Sex and the City and admired the costumes and the clothing and everything that they wore. All the way from Facts of Life. I remember being like, oh, I like what she has on. I like what she has on. I like, you know, how she skates and Tootie with the roller skates, you know, so it was always something that was there. I just didn't realize I could mold it into my career. And so I took the opportunity and I worked with her, and that's kind of just led its way on through. And that's where I am today.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
So what is a typical day like in your career?
So a typical day, there are no day offs, you know, there's no days off. My phone is buzzing right now. And we, you know, I start whenever they start. So, and actually before, because today they have, I think, a 12:30 p.m. call time, but I start first thing in the morning. Typical day for me is breaking down a script if I haven't already, reading and breaking down a script if I haven't already, checking the call sheet, making sure all the clothes for that day and the next day are where they need to be. We shoot on location and off of location. So sometimes I have to work with the transportation department to get a truck to bring racks of clothes to wherever they are, to the truck or the base camp. Running down the background, making sure we have enough clothes for the background. Background are supposed to bring their own clothes, but you know, sometimes they don't bring what the look is. So we always have to have extra for them, making sure that the actors have everything they need, from their clothes for the day to, you know, I'm working on a show, Sacrifice, and there's a lot of, she's a lawyer, the main character is a lawyer, and there's a lot of office scenes. Well, the production designer decided they wanted marble floors, real marble floors for the set, which heels and marble floors don't work well together for sound. So I make sure that we have pads for the shoes so that when they're walking, you can't hear them. I mean, it is nonstop, nitpicky, to the T, everything. And then I manage the budget. That's one of the other things that supervisor does, is we manage the budget. So each episode, I read it, count the changes, and determine how much the designer is going to spend. If you can imagine, it's quite difficult. And then I try to get the designer to stay in the budget that I projected. And it's always, you know, the line producer will tell you, this is your range, you know, and it's my job to figure out if I need to be at the range or if I can come lower, because there's another time that I might need to exceed that range. But he gives me an overall scale for the season, which is very helpful, you know, because it allows you to manipulate. And I don't know, I think that's the most challenging part for me, is the guesstimate on how much we're going to spend. And also I manage the returns. So that's another thing within film, you know, it helps the city out tremendously, because we do a lot of local shopping. However, it does fluctuate. So when you're a store employee and somebody comes in and they buy $3,000, you think you're going to get commission off of that $3,000. Well, we might only keep $750. So, you know, but then we'll be back, you know, and we'll be back. So it's a juggling effect that, you know, some of the local employees have welcomed and some of them have not welcomed so much. But that is a day-to-day thing. I shop every day. I manage the schedule every day. I budget every day. I make sure we're doing returns every day. And I manage currently a crew of 13 people.
Wow, okay. So how has the work setting been changed or adapted to COVID?
So If you're an office employee and you're not dealing with any cast, you get tested once a week. And we get the test that it's not the rapid test, it's the other
PCR.
test, the PCR test. We get the PCR test. We have to wear face masks every day, all day long. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You can take it out, you can take it off to eat, but then you have to put it back on. We used to have like 6 people in our office. The maximum occupancy now is 4, so we're spread out. Good thing we have a warehouse with our clothes, so some people have just moved over there. If you interact with an actor, you have to get tested 3 times a week. So if you're on set and you interact with actors, I get tested 3 times a week. I get tested Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I get a PCR all 3 days. And if I go on set, I have to wear an N95 mask and I have to wear a face shield. It's lessened. When we first started out, we had to wear like basically a surgical gown, and we had to wear gloves anytime we were touching an actor. Now we can just wash our hands and use hand sanitizer. We don't have to put the gloves on anymore. But when we do fittings, we still have to wear a surgical gown because they say that it can stay in the fabric for 3 days, and it's basically for our protection. The actors usually, sometimes they take off their face mask when they're in the fitting, they're changing clothes. And so we keep on an N95 and a face shield and a gown when we do our fittings.
Okay.
We don't have, set has always been very friendly and jokey, and we always stand around and talk. We can't do that. We have a buffet lunch where you used to be able to go and grab whatever you wanted, make sandwiches. Can't do that. So it's different, but we're just happy to be back at work. We're glad and fortunate that we are able to work. I think the good thing for us is that we definitely get tested, so we know, whereas the average American doesn't even have symptoms, but doesn't know that they have it because they don't have symptoms, but they're spreading it. So we know, and there have been several cases where the person has popped up positive on set, but they had no fever, nothing. They were totally fine. And in that instance, that person is required to go home, and that person is required, and anyone who has been within 6 feet, so closer than 6 feet or 6 feet for more than 15 minutes for the whole day has to go home too. And they're gone for 10 to 14 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what is the most challenging thing about your career?
The most challenging thing is finding the medium between the director's vision and the designer's vision. Because when you read a book, I use a book because most people read books rather than scripts, but they're kind of one and the same. When you read it and you have your whole picture of what you envision this person to be like. So I can read Cinderella and you could read Cinderella, and we can all have our own opinion of what the evil stepmom, the prince, and everybody looks like. And so the designer and the director are often having their individual, depictions of what that looks like. And so we get into the approval process. After we do the fitting, we send pictures to the directors, the producers, and the networks. So that's 3 different opinions on what this character should look like. So it's just my biggest challenge is making sure that everybody's vision is relayed in this character. So I basically am the liaison between the network, the director, and the designer in communicating what they all want and getting that onto that character. So, and that's just challenging because you're dealing with different personalities. And then I have my own vision because I read it too. So I'm like, well, I thought, so I think that, and then the budget.
Got it. And so what is the most rewarding thing about your career?
The most rewarding thing about this career is that I get to be creative. It's fun. I enjoy clothes. I enjoy storytelling. So for me, the being able to be a part of a story and a creation of a story and the depiction of these characters, because 9 out of 10 times the character is nothing like the person. So in the real life actor. So I think for me, that's the most rewarding. I just enjoy it. I think it's so fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun. A lot of work,
I mean,
but
it's
a
a
lot of
lot of
fun.
work, and there are hard days. There are
Yes.
definitely hard days, but that's with everything, I think.
And are there any resources you could share for those interested in pursuing this career?
Yes. So I would, if you're in school, always check with your film school, if you have a film department, if you have a theater department, and see what types of internships they have and what types of local theaters they have. I mean, you can always start in theater. If you're in a city that has film, there's always a film commission. I know in New Orleans, we have neworleansfilmcommission.com, and they give all kinds of information on what's shooting. And even the city of New Orleans will tell you on their page what's filming in the city. You can always write in, you can always email into these productions and ask them if they have any assistant positions available. The problem now is we used to do shadowing. NCIS used to do a lot of shadowing, and they worked with the UNO film school on a lot of stuff. But because of COVID, it is much more, it's just harder because you have to be employed in order to be on set. There's no guests right now. So hopefully everybody will get vaccinated and and we'll get back to being able to share space again. And then more people, we can have those shadowing experiences. Because I mean, when I always remember there was always a shadow. Oh, this person is shadowing and this person is shadowing. And that's was the primary way of you getting onto set and learning and seeing and experiencing was by shadowing someone. And right now, currently, we aren't allowing any shadows on set, but we do have internships. And most of the television series have internships. A lot of the feature films do not right now, but if you're in a location where they do have a television series, I know Richmond, Virginia has some, Atlanta, Georgia has some, New Orleans, Chicago, New York, they all have standard, LA obviously, standard television shows where you might be able to get an internship and be able to get on set.
Very interesting. Very good information. Would you like to share your website or social media?
I'm not very big on, that's really one of the things that I don't kind of have. I mean, you can always go to imdb.com, and that's like a movie television network, everybody's resume. So if you hear of a designer, you can go to imdb.com, you can Google them, and it will show you everything that they've ever worked on. Same with directors, producers, actors. You can always go on there, and it's basically like a resume of shows. If you get IMDb Pro, you can get their information, whatever they give out. My social network is like my daughter. I don't have any real work stuff. I probably should, because a lot of people do from set, or they take pictures of their costumes and they post it. But I'm unfortunately not, I missed that. I kind of was before it and then haven't really.
I understand. Yes.
Jumped on.
It's just not second nature to you.
Yeah, it's not. But there are tons of, there's a costume design Instagram. If you just hashtag costume design, they have plenty of designers that do the hashtag costume design if you're interested. And like I said, any type of film commission website will give you information in in whatever location you're in.
And truth be told, I've known you a long time. I never really understood what you did. And I was talking to a younger soror, and she says, well, I'm just going to Google her. And when I Googled you, it did come up under IMBD.
Mm-hmm.
And when I did your introduction, I mentioned that you worked on the movie Sacrifice that's on BET. So I actually watched it. It was excellent. And I paused every time they put up the names of the cast and the supporting cast. And I saw your name and I took a picture. I was like,
yes,
I saw something.
Yeah.
Someone. And I was also excited. I Googled because it was the way it ended. It was like, there's got to be a sequel.
Mm-hmm.
So I Googled and I found out there is going to be a series. So for all of those watching, check out Sacrifice with Paula Patton, Costume Supervisor, Leigh K. Lindsay.
Thank you. On BET.
On BET.
Yeah.
Last question. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
I think, the only thing I would like to share is that a lot of times you don't exactly know specifically what it is that you want to do, and it may change, but I think as long as you continue to do what you think your course is, you will ultimately make it to where you want to be. And it has to be your course. It can't be your parents. It has to be yours. It has to be you figuring out what you like. And it's, for me, I would suggest whatever underlying passion, whatever comes natural to you, whether that's style, whether that's clothing, whether that's medicine, whether that's, nature, farming, whatever that is, that you tune into the things that you enjoy about that specific, passion of yours, and follow that as a path. It might not be glamorous, but it'll lead you in the right direction.
Very good. Once again, thank you so much for taking this time out of your very busy schedule. You have a great day. I enjoy talking to you.
You too. Have a great day. Thank you so much.